Whoa, excuse me! Why are they trying to kick people out for not signing in sheets that's not legally required? They're physically manhandling residents out of the room. What's going on?
Before you get started. It's not coming. No. It's all out here more. Alex, it's all out here more time. More forward. Trumpet boys over here. Alex, for all some tea. More from the trumpet boys more over. Crawling.
Tony's not
They want some electrical things. I'm not too sure. Yeah, I don't think it could be somebody who I lent it to. I was working and I lent it to me. I'd looked at it and then he broke it out. It might be a wire or something. But when he used to work for the he goes home like that. No. Took me out, so I said,
yeah.
It's still just can't see when I was took
Now the waterfall's cancelled direct debit, so I left it in off. It's not going to get up your man, so just that's what I'm saying. It's not there, it comes. I managed to pay part of the gas and electric.
I'm sure that is going to generate up
Is there anything at the back of paper? Is that alright? Do you know this? Something else spare paper to give a listen.
Oh, they're on the table.
Yeah.
Right, welcome to this meeting of Heanor Loscoe Town Council. Right, to receive apologies for absence.
Apologies for absence for Mark Burrell, Tony Crowley and Janet Ward.
Declaration of members' interests. To receive and approve requests for dispensations from members on matters in which they may have a disclosable pecuniary interest.
None, Chairman.
Okay. Public speaking. A period of not more than 3 minutes per individual will be made available for members of the public and members of the council to comment on any matter. We've got 3, 4, we've got 8 people wanting to speak. So if we can keep it brief, and then we'll get back to people after the meeting if we could. That'll take time to get more questions in. So the first one's Darius.
Good evening all, I'll try and keep it brief. I believe in the last meeting that yourselves, you voted on £5,000 to be put to one side for solicitors' letters to go out to the public, for if we said anything wrong, put anything on the internet, anything untoward. And I can understand that, but I believe it's about £300 to £500 per letter from a solicitor to go out. Now, if you send a letter to somebody here, or say it's myself, say I don't agree with that letter, whatever it's saying, yeah, I might think to myself, right, I'll go to a solicitor myself, and it might end up in court, whatever the incident might be that you're accusing. Okay, so if it goes to court, you're looking at a lot of money there. So if it was to go to court, who would pay the extra fees if it went over £5,000?
So we said at the beginning we'll get back to you within 10 days. So do within 10 days.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Next one is Dale Holmes.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Well, I did have 3 questions, now I've got 4. Procedural questions relating to the agenda and statutory compliance, which I would like to place on the record. And the additional one that I'd like to ask now is, what does the council think it's doing by manhandling people who don't sign in a signing-in sheet? What is going on there? It's not a legal requirement to sign in. This is a public meeting. It's the public's meeting. It is not Heanor Loscoe Town Council's meeting. You don't have a right to do that. So I'd like you to confirm what statutory law that you are excluding members of the public from this meeting under if they do not sign your sheet. Right, back to the questions. Why was the delegation of powers to the town clerk referenced as being granted on the 4th of December not listed as a substantive item on the agenda for that meeting? Given that it was not identified on the published agenda, can the council explain how the delegation was not, in effect, new business introduced without proper notice and therefore incapable of being lawfully resolved, particularly if the discussion or agenda or agreed in session from which the press and public were excluded? Question 2. Why was agenda item 8B of tonight's agenda permitted to be placed on the agenda at all, given that the matters proposed are not within the statutory powers of a town council? In particular, how does the council reconcile the inclusion of this item with the fact that conduct and standards matters relating to councillors fall within the statutory standards framework of the principal authority, and that any attempt by this council to create a parallel enforcement and sanctions regime would be outside its powers? Further, has consideration been given to the position of the dual-hatted borough councillors who would be placed in an untenable position were they to support such an item, given their obligations under the Borough Council Standards Framework to not only not support such action, but to call it out where it might arise? Final question. Can the council provide clear, item-by-item clarification as to how each of the following 3 distinct matters within agenda item 12 meets a statutory test for exclusion of the press and public? Specifically, as confirmed by the town clerk in his email communications with me on this matter, A report from the clerk. Is that my time?
Is that finishing your last question?
It was, yes, if you want to go to it.
Finish off what you're saying.
Well, a report of the clerk, statement from elected members, statements from staff. For each of these matters, can the council identify whether exclusion is said to be justified on the basis that the business is confidential by nature or of special reason, and explain how publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest in each specific case, not simply councillor comfort? Thank you for allowing me that time.
Okay. Same as Darius, we'll get back to you within
Thank you.
10 days again.
Mayor.
The next one is Trevor Holmes.
Right, thank you, Mayor. Forgive me for not standing. I've got a bit of trouble with my legs, so I'll remain sitting down. Right, for the record, I am speaking as a resident of Heanor and as a borough councillor for Heanor East at Amber Valley Borough Council. I am not a town councillor, and I am not seeking to direct the work of this council. My purpose this evening is security, transparency and good governance in the interest of residents who ultimately fund all the decisions taken here tonight. I would like to raise 2 linked issues. First, the accuracy and transparency of the proposed budget and precept. And second, the governance and delivery of the council's own action plan commitments. I raise them together because they go to the heart of our decisions are governed and explained and evaluated to the public. Budget and precept transparency, lengthsman's issue. The published budget and precept papers refers to a lengthsman's role. However, the town clerk has confirmed to me in writing that the council do not employ a lengthsman, and that the intended role is that of a town warden, which is currently being recruited. This distinction matters Because in line with guidance issued by Derbyshire Association of Local Councils and the National Association of Local Councils, they are clear on what constitutes a linesman's role. Under National and County Association guidance, a linesman scheme is a specific and defined arrangement typically linked to the highways or principal authority, operating under a formal scheme or agreement and clearly distinct from general purpose roles such as wardens or caretakers. Importantly, guidance and published examples show that the linesman's role is typically costed in the region of £19,000 to £20,000 per annum, reflecting a defined scheme with clear responsibilities. A linesman is therefore not simply a job title that can be used interchangeably, and it is not the same as a part-time town warden. Financial reconciliation. Based on the town warden's job description provided, the hourly rate is £13.70 for 15 hours per week, which equates to an annual gross cost of approximately £10,700. Even allowing for employee costs such as national insurance, pensions, contributions, and reasonable overhead.
Trevor, you've gone well over your time.
Right, it's cut me off. Thank you very much, Chair. Your prerogative. It's cut me off. Your prerogative to give me extra time, but obviously you chose not to. Thank you.
If you submit the question, it'll get answered in the same way as the rest. Right, the next one is Dave Crawley.
Good evening and a Happy New Year to all of you. On the 18th of December at St Lawrence Church, between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m, there was a display and feasibility study about what was to be done with the old site. Can I ask how many councillors from here actually attended the meeting, signed in and filled in the questionnaire as to what to do with the block? How many? Show of hands? Other than the mayor, I met the mayor there. So that's nil. Okay. There was some information obtained. The old science block is actually structurally sound. There is nothing wrong with that, which ties in to Mr. Paul Jones's the Heanor Loscoe plan from 2023 to 2027, which I quote, which states that you work closely with Amber Valley Council to remove the science block on the former Heanor Grammar School site and ensure that the school site achieves its full potential for the whole community. And also part 2, another quote, to work with partners to ensure Heanor Town Centre becomes a vibrant centre, becomes an economic area and attracts a new generation of entrepreneurs to put roots in the town, helping to build the town as a future-facing go-to destination for new generation of visitors. That's what it says in the new plan. Personally, I don't think knocking it down achieves a go-to destination. It may be cheaper to refund it and call it the Heanor Small Business Hub and fill it with, you guessed, entrepreneurs. That's that. But I'll just mention the debate about whether you throw me out or what have you. When you have your meeting in camera at the end, you're absolutely right that you can bar members of the council. But under section 100A, it states which of the 5 exempt categories you're going to discuss, whether it be one or all 5 of the categories. And the Town and Country Act of 1990 states that information that is not exempt is if it relates to proposed development for which the local planning authority may grant its self-planning permission, which I think, as far as the science block, it's quite. But I just mention as well, I won't take up your time, the Nolan principles, which you all know. The big problem is that we only get 3 minutes to speak, and then it says in the minutes that you may not speak again during the whole discussion. That's it. You're barred from speaking. But this, unless, of course, of the discrepancy of the mayor, it doesn't seem right, it doesn't seem democratic that if there's something that's amiss and it needs to be rectified, I'm not allowed to tell you or even give you some information that may help everybody. That doesn't seem very democratic to me. And it is for you, the mayor, not for you councillors or the...
Thank you, Dave.
That it's up to you. If you want to remove me, then it's up to you. That's what it says. If you want to talk about something, £60,000 for fireworks does seem a bit excessive. Thank you ever so much for listening.
Here.
Right, the next one is Celia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This relates to a planning application, number AVA 2025, postcode 89. It's land between 22 and 34 Brook Street, Glasgow. I would ask that this council supports the Derbyshire County Council's recommendation that the application not be determined until the applicant has submitted revised details on visibility slates, driveways and footways.
Thank you. The next one is that Neil Walcott, Neil and Nigel. Can't read the. It's wet through a bit. No.
Neil or Nigel?
I'm Neil, so I'll have two very quick questions. One, was if cheap seats down here can't hear a bloody word, where's the PA system?
That's the one.
Yeah. And the other one is the car park at the bottom of Fletcher Street. When I phone Ripley Town Hall and ask to speak to somebody about that, whoever I need to speak to is never ever there, and I'm going to call me back next day, and they never do. Why?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And the next one is
Can't wait to be down here as well.
Melissa.
Your turn.
You have public speaking. That's it. And the last one's Megan then.
Yes, it's
Not
loud.
I've got two questions. One, first of all, is do we have a permanent traffic warden in Heanor? Can anybody answer that?
No idea.
No, because the reason is there's one or two things happening in Heanor as regards cars parking on the pavements, cars parking on zigzag lines by the crossing. And I went to the police and asked them about it. I thought it was their problem. Told me it was the council's problem and of where they park.
Yes.
And it was also obstructing buggies and all sorts of things were coming on the pavement, which should be. And they said it was the council's problem. And also I said, well, do you mean we should have a traffic warden? He said yes. And I was told that we only have one traffic warden that supplies Ripley and Heanor.
There's three.
Is that
I think,
correct?
Megan, there's three, and they do the whole of Amber Valley.
Yeah.
But we'll find out for you.
But how can they, you know, go around like that if they've got to do all these places. They can't see everything, can they? Right.
I would say, Megan, sorry, from a police perspective, I would say if there's a particular issue, you can report that directly to them and they will go pay attention
Oh,
to
no.
that. Civil and parking enforcement through the council.
I was told it was a council.
It is, oh, sorry, not, no, it was the Derbyshire County Council,
Oh, right.
not Heanor Town Council.
Okay, thank you. Second one is, I've already asked in past meetings, but what are your plans imminent or to bring Heanor up to standard? Because it's definitely overdue.
It is.
Okay.
Right, we'll get back to you again, Megan. Police.
Good evening. Well, from here, so you can hear me. Nothing too major from a police perspective. Unfortunately, in the last sort of week or so, with the snow, etc., we've experienced a rise in ASB issues. And as well, I spoke to Kerry, there's been some damage caused to the council building, which we're trying to identify the offenders. But other than that, there's no major issues to discuss based on the community. Anybody got anything to bring to my attention?
If that's what council building are you referring to?
Heanor Town Council.
The town hall.
Sorry, the town hall, yeah.
Shopping. Thank you very much.
Again, snow related. Lots of these items.
Yes. Well, we get problems with what we call violations on the car park in Shippey Park. It's on and off, and it comes. They've got outriders coming in to see how many cars are left on the car park. We've got a link up, so. And then it starts up from about 7 o'clock at night and lasts on from about 9.
This is one of our policing priorities in the area, and we do get calls in relation to that. But I personally, probably, I don't know if it was between Christmas and New Year, we had a couple of calls from people reporting the cars on the car park, and I was physically there, and there were no cars there. So I think people can potentially hear the cars, so we can hear a car with a noisy exhaust or something, and just assume that it is at Shippey Park. But I can guarantee the car park was good, and there's definitely no cars there at the time that call was made.
Well, I live there.
I live in that place. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I've been up myself and checked it. What they
Thank
do
you very
is
much.
very, very clever. Because they bring their front runner in.
All right. Right, Derbyshire County Council.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, councillors, and Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you're all well. I'm going to make this quick because it seems like a very big agenda we've got here, so I'm going to touch on a few points. First, with regards to parking, we received documentation today from Derbyshire County Council that regarding traffic enforcement, as of the 19th of January, we will be bringing in regulation in partnership with what the government has actually brought in, where individuals will be moving forward, being prosecuted for parking on pavement. Obviously, in particular in Heanor Town Centre, this is an issue for a lot of drivers, delivery drivers. So yes, now there hasn't been a formal outline. I haven't had a chance to read the paper, but suffice to say, as soon as we get the information, we'll make that available to the council, so it can be published on the website.
How will that work with Terrace Street?
It's more
just town centre.
There will be dispensation for certain areas, you know, in particular Loscoe Grange, where there is no way that you can possibly not park on the pavement. There are ways and means, but in particular in places like high streets, where you've got blocking roads, you know, this is going to be enforced. So the technicalities are yet to be defined to me. Suffice to say, as soon as I've read it, I'll make it available to Parish Council moving forward.
Okay.
Some things that I've been working on, which may or may not affect individuals here. So I have recently reached out to East Midlands Railway with regards to the southbound platform at Langham Mill. Unfortunately, it's not accessible for people who are disabled and pushchairs, so I have actually put it out there. Based on the Ordnance Act, they need to actually look into the matter, and they have today come back to me obviously stating that they will next year be looking into that. So where the jitty actually goes up past the car wash, the understanding being is if they were going to put it, that would be the preference. So that is something we're working on, and as soon as I find out, I'll once again report it. Whilst it's not in Heanor, obviously people from Heanor will be using facilities. Secondly, once again, not necessarily, it's on the board of Heanor, but the community centre, which is next to the co-op, it was down to be sold. It is no longer being sold. It is going to be used as a community asset. We will be looking to turn it into a children's centre, and likewise it will the local community. Understandably, we will need to be investing some money in it. It's a little bit dilapidated, but the hope is that we can actually bring additional community assets into the area, for which both people in Lanny Mill, Old Car, in the general vicinity should be able to use that going forward. My colleague is going to go more into the subject of roads, and in particular with Loscoe. We will be looking in the next year to resurface the entire Loscoe Road. Understandably, it's one of the bugbears every time the whole bit comes, they dig it up and then they put it in. Well, it's going to be all done. Likewise, we're going to be resurfacing Loscoe Grange. It's been, from what I understand from residents, it's been nearly 30 years since anyone done anything with it, and we have been identifying roads throughout the entire Derbyshire that are in the worst state. We've identified 19 particular streets. We set aside £3 million for funding, and we will be addressing those. Any money that is actually then that we don't spend will be then used at the next 19 or so on and so forth. But the main thing is that we are putting an extensive plan to
on the red list.
Yeah, well, once again, if I can just knock that one out of the park. Yes, there was a red list published, and unfortunately it was labelled as a certain form county council, but it, just for record, that information actually goes from the period, I think it's June 2024 to June 2025. Understandably, a few of us were only in power for 2 weeks, so I don't see how that can be labelled ourselves, but we are actually addressing quite a lot of the outstanding issues. The majority of potholes are now being dealt with, but ultimately we've had most things. It is a case of whack-a-mole, especially when in winters like this. I've been in contact with the parish council, and I have actually spoken with individuals there, providing me with a list of streets that we need to look at. I've already highlighted a few from my walking around on the weekend. Just so you're aware, every Friday I make a point straight after work of driving around the areas and seeing if there's any potential issues. We are trying, but ultimately things do happen. But if you do find issues and you want to report them to me, fine, that's not a problem. Or Peter and either way, we'll get it sorted. I think there was one on Ray Street that was recently being...
Ray Street, Ray Street and...
Berry Street.
Yeah. So yeah, in general, we're obviously here and we are visible. And if anybody doesn't know our email, the contact details, I'm happy to provide them. We are now starting to feel a lot of the information, and I think this is the biggest thing with council. A lot of people don't think they get enough information, and they don't feel like people are listening. And part of our responsibility is to make sure that when we do have information, that we are feeding it back into people. So you will see more over time. Ourselves, I deal with Andrew, sending the necessary information which is pertinent to the areas that we actually represent.
Okay.
I'm going to pass on to Peter for the next.
Yes, so back onto the roads. I have made up a lovely little picture of all the roads that are planned starting in March. And I think there's about 15 major routes and housing estates planned for major roadworks. So there's going to be a lot of roadworks from March on. Please be warned. But they need to be done. I was going to ask about the parking thing. Yes, Darren says that. I believe it was you in the last meeting then that requested somebody look into the parking on footpaths, so now I know who it was. That's good. Care homes came up in the last meeting. I have had a side of the letter that was sent to Lindsay Farnsworth
from Joss Thorns, and I've made some synopsis of the letter. So if anybody wants a copy of this, members of the public, and I can send the chair a copy of that as well that you can distribute to councillors. But anybody tonight that wants a copy, I've got one here. What else have I got?
You wrote a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, if I can just add, with regards to, once again, just trying to debunk something with regards to the care homes, in November 2024, it was already being muted that unfortunately Derbyshire County Council were actually running into financial difficulties. In December, they put out a consultation to the general public, and they earmarked 8 care homes. These care homes accommodated 240 residents, and suffice to say, cost millions of pounds to keep those care homes open for those residents. Now, unfortunately, this agreement was pretty much kept under wraps due to NDAs, and it wasn't obviously until we came into power that understandably we had full access to this information, by which time it was already in process. Ultimately, we've attempted to go with what the actual county council had already proposed. There was already plans afoot. Those plans basically failed due to the individuals actually backing out because unfortunately it was no longer financially viable. This was with regard to increasing business taxes and various pensions that we would have actually had to take on with the actual people who were employed at the university, at the actual care homes. Now, a lot of people actually came out and initially said that we were going to put people out on the streets. This was never the case. It was always the case that we would actually make sure that people were kept in those homes as long as possible until adequate solutions were found. Ultimately, from what I understand, there still hasn't been anything concrete as to what is going to happen, but the thing is that these particular care homes are just not economically viable. And that's the sad thing. Now, one of the benefits of all this is that places like Heanor, Florence Nightingale, Shipley, basically this is our flagship. It means that we'll be able to actually keep these types of places open for local residents. But it's not the council's wish to put people out on the street, certainly not. And it's disingenuous to say anything, but unfortunately there's a lot of left-leaning media actually will make us out to be these awful people. I'd like to think, go on record that we are doing our damnedest to make sure that we keep those people safe.
And I'll just finish up with, Joss has made it so clear that Florence Shipley is the flagship for dementia, as a dementia centre. There is no intention to close it, sell it, or upset it in any way. In fact, they want to try and improve it and invest in it. So, please rest assured, it's not going to be closed. So, I'll finish with that. Thanks, Darren.
Thank you. Borough Council. No. Right. That's the end of the public speaking.
Excuse me. Would you mind answering the question I asked earlier? Where is the PA system? Because we can't hear a thing at this end.
Being that stone.
Why?
Right. Members of the public may not speak further at the meeting. If a member of the public interrupts the proceedings at any time, or at any meeting, the mayor may, after a warning, order that he or she be removed from the meeting, and that part of the meeting room that's open to the public be cleared. Okay, so now I want to change things. I've got to propose a motion to vary the business under section 10 of the standing orders, and to move the agenda forward to talk about now. The precepts. What did I say?
Why are we changing it?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So can somebody second?
Why has it been changed?
just to bring it forward, so we can talk about it now, in case anybody wants to get off and then it's done. It's sorted. Is anybody want to second that? Okay, all those in favour? And against? Okay, thank you.
I think, Chair, that the RFO has prepared some papers setting out a proposed budget and precept for 2026-27. The RFO is here if there are any detailed questions. There are two options on the table. There was a 6% increase and a 10% increase. The papers were provided to everybody and were on the website. So it's down to members to ask any questions or propose what precept will be.
Has anybody got any questions? I mean, my proposal myself is 6%. I don't think we can go up to 10. The 6 will give us a chance to get more done. I think for one reason or another there's not been enough done this year, and we need to use the 26-27 to get things started again. Does anybody?
What's that equate to? What that equate to per house?
It equates to around £10 on a band D over a year.
Jesus
So somebody wants to second that? Yeah. All those in favour? And against?
What page, Chair, are you on? What page of the budget are you on, Chair? Nothing.
Town Mayor's announcements. All I can say about this last. Oh yeah, yeah, yes. Yeah. Just realised. Yeah, to confirm the minutes of the meeting of the 4th of December. Second. All those in favour? And those against?
Can I just ask if they'll be going onto the website, please? The minutes of the meeting.
They are already on the website.
Thank you.
Okay, back to Town Mayor's announcements. It's been all churches this month. Can't remember the last time I was at church, but I've been in 4 churches this month that I've never been in.
I go 4 times a month.
Hey.
I go 4 times a month. It's great.
I really enjoyed it, actually. It's good. Apart from that, it's been very quiet at Christmas.
So, with all due respect, could I just, you're talking amongst yourselves, we can't hear a thing. I will have to watch it on YouTube, and I do apologise, and I'm not trying to be but we do want to get on.
Right. To determine which items, if any, part of the agenda should be taken with the public excluded.
Move agenda item.
Yeah.
Agenda item 12.
Okay, all those in favour? And against? Right. Items for consideration. Okay.
Just moving that the 27th of January is Holocaust Memorial Day. The theme this year is Bridging Generations. Sadly, the witness generations are leaving us, and the flame is being passed on to the younger generation. What I ask is that Loscoe and Heanor promote the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust webpage, promote the passing on to the next generation. Also, every year for Holocaust Memorial Day, I provide children of the Holocaust names, if anybody wants to remember those as part of the service that I hold at work. Then if you let me know, I'll submit a name to you.
Well, that was going to be seconded by Councillor Crowley, but he's not here, so I'll second that. All those in favour? And against? Okay. Paul, your motion.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this basically is just for the benefit of members, so they actually are quite aware of how serious any breaches of any items discussed in the confidential section of the council is. For the benefit of clarity for members, if they are not clear, then they really should discuss it with the clerk, who with 40 years of local government will be able to put them right. You shouldn't discuss it with anybody outside of the members who are present. If members who aren't present wish to discuss it, they should discuss it with the clerk as well, so that there's a consistent interpretation of what is public knowledge and what isn't. I think the what's laid out is self-explanatory.
Yeah, seconded for that?
Yeah.
All those in favour? And against? Abstain? Okay. All right.
There's a formal request for clarification of accountability that ring-fence illegal expenditure. Before I go into it any further, I would like to say that I think it's really not appropriate that when I ask another councillor to second something I want on the agenda, that they get told by clerks or the councillors that they really need to think about whether they second my proposals, because I'm just trying to cause trouble instead of wanting to be transparent with the public. The second thing that I would like to say is that as a councillor, I'm under the belief that I was elected to represent the residents. So if anybody comes to me and asks me to help them get answers to their questions, I'm going to help them whether I agree or not. So from that, we'll carry on to this. The first question being on authority and approval. At which council meeting was the decision taken to ring-fence 5,000 of public funds? Please give the date, minute reference and exact resolution approving this expenditure.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, you've asked me to answer that. It was The decision was taken at the meeting of the 4th of December 2025. You have the minutes in front of you, and it is minute number 82, and the exact resolution is set out clearly in that set of minutes. And I will say that this question that was originally submitted by Councillor Trevor Holmes has been answered in a letter by myself, and I believe the contents of that published on social media. So it has actually already been answered.
Unfortunately, not everybody has access to social media. Number 2, purpose and scope. What is the specific purpose for which this £5,000 has been ring-fenced? Can this funding be used in connection with members of the public, and if so, under what defined circumstances?
Again, Chair, through you, I refer the elected member to the minute number 82, where it quite clearly sets out the specific purpose and what it can be used for in connection with members of the public and what defined circumstances.
Number 3, delegated powers. Please provide the formal scheme of delegation that authorises the town clerk to seek legal advice. Does this delegation extend beyond obtaining advice to include decisions or actions that may affect members of the public?
Again, through you, Chair, the formal scheme of delegation doesn't apply. This is a specific delegation, powers given to myself as town clerk, and the delegation does extend beyond obtaining advice to include decisions or actions that may affect members of the public.
Number 4, decision-making process. On what basis will the town clerk confer with only 2 councillors rather than full council or a properly constituted committee? How are these discussions recorded, scrutinised and reported to the full council and to the public?
Chair, through you again, the town clerk, the delegation is to the town clerk as an officer, cannot be delegated to individual members. I merely have to consult with 2 members appointed by the Town Council on the 4th of December 2025. The decision is mine. Those discussions are recorded and scrutinised, reported to the full Council at the next meeting. So, for example, tonight, details of what action I have taken will be reported in private session later today.
And number 5, public participation safeguards. What safeguards are in place to ensure that members of the public are not discouraged, intimidated or penalised for asking questions or scrutinising council business?
That will be the role of the Town Council when matters are reported to them.
Will that be after the event or before?
Sorry?
Will that be after the event or before?
It will either be after the event or it may be before, depending on what action I propose to take.
And number 6, actions taken. Have any actions, warnings or correspondence been issued to a member of the public under this process? If so, under what authority were these actions taken and where are they formally recorded?
The actions at the time of being asked this question, there had been none. And that was confirmed to Trevor Holmes. Since that time, the actions that I have taken will be reported to the Town Council tonight in private confidential, and at this stage I'm not willing to discuss them in public because I think they're exempt.
I do struggle for the behind closed doors when it actually involves members of the public. This is their council tax money that we're using against them. They should be participant in the conversation. I understand about staff, I understand about councils, I don't understand when it comes to the public.
Yeah. Is that it, Marie, on that one? Yeah.
Seems so.
So, we've got seconders for that. Right. All those in favour? Against?
Can we have that recorded, please? Sorry, I missed it.
You want to record the vote to know that response? Could you be clear, please, what are you actually voting for or against? Is that not sure?
Yes, we've just put our hands up. What have we put our hands up for?
I don't know.
We're voting for and against.
I'm asking for clarification of what are you
So if we're going to
voting
vote on it, I'd like it to be recorded.
There's no need for that was my mistake. Totally. And Marie again, for your second.
For the council to consider the calling of an extraordinary meeting of the parish of Heanor and Loscoe to allow the electorate to express their views on the lack of visible progress following the completed Heanor Grammar project and the public engagement and regeneration ambitions set out in the future High Street fund bid, including the science block. There is growing concern among residents that the promises of renewed public engagement and town regeneration following the grammar school project and associated future High Street fund have not been delivered to a transparent or meaningful way. I further request that council consider inviting neighbouring parishes such as Codnor, Aldgate and Langley Mill to participate in a joint forum, recognising that a formal parish meeting can only legally apply to Heanor and Loscoe.
Second on that.
Especially since the likelihood of the science block now seems to be going towards being residential, whether that be flats or for the elderly. I think it really does need.
Not from what I heard of the
Did you not?
public, no.
The feedback I got from that meeting that I asked you for that I didn't get, I got from someone else. It seems that the architects seem to sway in that favour because it's the most profitable outcome.
So it says it had somebody to speak unless there's nothing. There's nothing in it as such. It wasn't.
Well, if it's the most profitable outcome, it's the most likely outcome, isn't it?
Remember a second for that.
I'm happy to invite a meeting with the council and discuss anything.
Yeah.
To something important.
Okay, so you seconding that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all those in favour?
Recorded, please.
Mr Mayor, I'll leave the meeting at this stage because it doesn't mention the grammar school which belongs to Umbrella Group Council.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay then, a recorded vote on motion D, submitted by Marie Cresswell, seconded by Joanne Gent. Those in favour of the motion, if you can vote for, against or abstain, we'll start with Councillor Abernethy.
Abstain.
Councillor Bauer. Councillor Brunelleschi. Councillor Seacott. Councillor Lindsay Cott.
Abstain.
Councillor Cresswell.
I'm for, obviously.
Councillor Edge.
Same.
Councillor Gent. Councillor Goodrum.
For.
Councillor Hamilton.
Abstain.
Councillor Hibbard.
Abstain.
Councillor Hine.
I'll go yes.
For.
For it.
Councillor Howard.
Against.
Councillor Ann Jones.
Against.
Councillor Paul Jones.
Again.
Councillor Chris Neal.
Against.
Councillor Alex Stevenson.
For.
So the outcome is there were 5 votes for, 4 against, 8 abstentions. The motion is carried.
Chris back in. Chris back in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Is it on display?
Brother, check it. Okay.
Motion is to a response to proposals to sell the 8 council homes.
Can you speak up, please? We can't hear a damn thing.
Can't hear a thing down back.
So does the table.
This has to be resolved before the next meeting.
In response to proposals to sell the 8 council-owned council-owned care homes, Heanor Loscoe Town Council wishes to express its concern regarding the principle of selling county council-owned care homes to the private sector. Town Council, like all public bodies, recognise significant financial pressures facing local government and the need to manage public finances responsibly. However, decisions of this magnitude must be made with a wider public interest and with a long-term perspective, rather than being driven primarily by short-term financial savings. Potential consequences of these proposals are significant, and they have lasting negative impacts on individuals' quality of life, community cohesion, and the ability of the NHS to cope with an ageing population, particularly in relation to the delayed hospital discharges and so-called bed blocking. Community care centres were originally developed to ensure that the vulnerable residents could access appropriate care within their communities. 4 such centres have been opened in the last 9 years, demonstrating a relatively recent and ongoing commitment to the model of care. While Florence Shipley Community Centre in Heanor is not currently included in the list for privatisation, the Town Council is concerned that it may be at risk in the future. Town Council firmly believes that the public sector is the best place to deliver affordable, service-led care to the most vulnerable members of society. Retaining the maximum number of publicly owned care homes helps ensure the continued provision of enablement services, specialist dementia care and flexible respite care. Existing care homes are appropriately located and designed to support for this model of care. If the properties are sold, the Town Council seeks clarification on what guarantees will be put in place to ensure they continue to operate as care facilities. There is significant concern that new owners could repurpose the sites, resulting in permanent loss of the vital local care provision. Furthermore, should the properties fail to sell, it's not clear what the Council's long-term plans are for these sites or the associated costs. For these reasons, Heanor and Loscoe Town Council strongly urges the County Council to reconsider any proposals to privatise care homes and to prioritise the long-term community need. These sustainable care provisions and well-being of vulnerable residents.
Somebody want to second it?
Second.
All those in favour?
To talk to motion.
Good example.
Very lucky. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I served for 4 years as Deputy Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care on the County Council, and I had the privilege of opening Florence Shipley. And at least 3 other homes that the county council opened at the time. And I think it's vital that we recognise the important position these take in local communities. And unfortunately, adult social care is one of the Cinderella services within the public sector. People don't recognise the importance of it until a member of their family has to need access to services. And I think it's incumbent on us as a public body to actually make sure that we ensure that not only our community, because foreign should be made safe, but there are residents that live in Heanor and Loscoe that actually go to other care homes. And we must ensure that these facilities are actually maintained as best they can to ensure that all of our residents have a good access to good quality services. And I know for a fact that somebody who was going to purchase these services was going to change the usage of it. They told me. And to be honest, any person who thought about buying the properties and said it fell through because they're too expensive, they would have known that they would have had to pay the pension contributions of the staff. Under 2p, it's nothing new, and any developer worth the salt would have known that, factored into any budget constraint like that. It's a fallacy to say that they can't afford to produce them, because it's proven. Because I know, in fact, about Ada Belfield, when that was built, which I had a significant role in, we had quite a significant number of private sector people interested in taking it over from the county council. It really is important to put on us to make sure that these homes are kept within the public sector for the benefit of the wider community.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah.
All those in favour? Okay, Paul. Your turn again.
Stand now. This council unequivocally condemns and will not tolerate any attacks, harassment or intimidation carried out on social media, including those that made by individuals or through anonymous accounts against employees of the council. As an employer, the council has an absolute duty of care to ensure its employees are able to carry out their work in a safe and secure environment, free from fear, abuse, harassment or threats of violence. The council commits to taking all necessary and lawful actions available to it to prevent, challenge and respond to abuse directed at its employees, whether verbal, written or disseminated through social media platforms. While freedom of expression is a fundamental right, it is not without its limits and must be exercised responsibly. The council affirms its responsibility to robustly protect the rights, safety, dignity, well-being of its staff, to ensure that no employee is subject to abuse or intimidation in the course of their work. And that, I think members should realise that as employers, we are governed by the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, which enshrines a statutory duty of care to our staff. It incorporates a civil liability to ensure staff don't suffer stress at work, psychiatric injury or other forms of intimidation. The council will be liable to a claim under the employment tribunal or in the civil courts if we didn't provide those assurance protections to our staff. Whilst the council is a corporate body, individual councillors wouldn't be automatically protected. Therefore, a council could end up personally liable if they failed knowingly to ignore the risks that have been presented to them by the staff that they've been threatened, harassed or stressed. And failure to act on those warnings also would make that individual councillor liable. This could also lead to criminal prosecution. Liability from the employment tribunal and injuries on cases like this range at costs between £7,000 and £30,000. The costs of actually defending a case can range between £10,000 and £30,000. And the council's own policies on bullying and harassment quite clearly state that we have an obligation both as employers and a moral responsibility to ensure that our staff are protected against such actions.
Right, for a second for that.
Question.
Brilliant.
I just wanted to say something.
Okay.
So, going back to May, when we had the change of mayor, the incoming group wanted to be more transparent, open, and have more constructive conversation with the residents to stop any unnecessary frustration for this to occur. As well as having moral obligations to our employees and council, as elected officials who have been elected to serve, do we not have our residents, do we not have the same moral obligations to them? Anybody?
No. Yeah, as employers of the council, we have a respect to our employees, both under the Health and Safety at Work Act, the Equalities Act 2010, and the Factories and Railroad Act, to protect workers whilst at work. So whilst we have an obligation to them as employers, that's where we're standing on this.
And can I also reiterate what I've said before? If there are councillors sat in this room that use secondary Facebook accounts, use anonymous posting to dig and make these situations worse, and then cry when it comes back to bite them on the backside, who's responsible for that?
I'll move recorded vote.
Okay.
What we're voting on?
Whether we agree with that motion or not.
Motion on what?
I think one, it's a bit broad, and I think two, you know, councillors have to be accountable themselves as well for their own actions.
Through you, Chair, Council are voting on the motion as printed on item F on the agenda, provided to all members and published on the website. If you can vote for, against or abstain, I'll read out the names. Abernathy. 4. Bauer. 4. Brunelleschi. 4. C.M. Cox. 4. Lindsay Cox. 4. Councillor Cresswell.
Abstain.
Councillor Edge. 4. Councillor Emmas Williams.
4.
Councillor Gent. Councillor Goodrun.
Abstain.
Councillor Hamilton.
4.
Councillor Hibbard. 4. Councillor Hind.
Abstain.
Councillor Howard.
4.
Councillor Ann Jones. 4. Councillor Paul Jones.
4.
Councillor Neal.
4.
Councillor Stevenson. 4. So the vote was voted for 15, against 0, 3 abstentions, so the motion is carried.
Yes.
Mr Mayor and members of the public, the next item is a report from the Standards Committee of Amber Valley Borough Council on the findings relating to a complaint regarding the conduct of Councillor Malcolm Hibbard. The full report was attached and is published on the Amber Valley Borough Council website in full. and basically it is asking the town council to consider and report back whether they are happy with the sanctions and agree with the sanctions recommended.
Move to accept it.
Said it for me.
It does, it does. Okay.
Chair and committee, so I've got I've got bad knees, so I try and talk loud as I can people to do it. So I wish to opposite apology. So I wish to offer a sincere apology for breaching the members' code of conduct as the result of a post that I shared with these women. On reflection, I recognise that my actions fell short of the standards expected of me as a councillor. Regardless of intent, I accept responsibility for the impact of what I posted. I acknowledge that I may have caused or upset or concern. I also will take this opportunity to remind all councillors and all people and members of the public and the gallery the importance of carefully considering the effect of posts made and shared on social media platforms or other media platforms, particularly on platforms that can foster toxic or hostile exchanges. Words shared online can have wider consequences than intended and can contribute to an environment that is harmful or distressing to others. I apologise unreservedly to anyone who I have upset or was upset with my actions. I reflect on this matter and I will ensure that my future conduct, both online and offline, will follow the standards expected of my role that has been trusted and placed in me. Thank you.
Right.
Chair, Finance, you've already approved the budget and precept. It's really now to approve the bank reconciliation, the approval of payments for November 25 and the approval of the receipts for November 25, which were appended to the agenda and published online.
Move those, Chair.
Second on it. Yeah. Those in favour? Yeah. Right, planning.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Can we just leave? Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Right. 23 Brockhall Rise, Heanor. Application for lawful development certificate for proposed ground floor rear extension. 4 Derby Road, Heanor. Conversion of an existing dwelling into a 9-person, 2 generous HMO.
I'd just like to highlight the fact that some of the HMO and the impact it has on local infrastructure, doctors, schools.
I think that'll be 3.
Yeah, it's just, I think we need to be mindful of the impact it has on the local area and resources.
Especially what's been happening down Red Line Square, just lately.
I think as well, plus where it's situated, right next to Red Line Square, right next to Red Line Pub, all trouble they've had recently, especially with stabbing.
I think
things like that, and the tax, then we don't know who's going to go in the HMO, if it does get passed or anything. I think we need to object against it.
They strongly object, don't they?
Yeah.
It has been running as a guest house.
Guest house for years.
I think now it's going full HMO, which is a totally different deal. So,
We can get the cost to that.
yeah. Yeah. 15 Greyfriars Close, Heanor. This application is to carry out a small reduction on 9 sycamore trees, previous pruning points carried out in August 2022. The work is to remove new growth from the trees from the last authorised work. We would like to apply to carry out this work on a 3 to 5 year cycle, and permission is also. That's all I've got.
I don't see an issue on that. I think it should be going to maintain the trees. So on the big trees.
Back in.
Yeah.
Right. Exclusion of the press and public. I'll move this. Somebody wants to second that? I'll second. Yeah, all those in favour? Against? That's it. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of the public meeting.
Big fat ginger.
Mayor, can I just note that it wasn't again put in the motion to exclude? I'm leaving because I've got other places to be. But again, the motions are not stated as they should be. So can that be looked into? Thanks. See you in a bit, buddy. See you in a bit, fellas. Hey, good night.